Our next guest spent more than a dozen years in prison for a crime he did not commit. C.J. Rice had been serving a 30 to 60-year sentence for attempted murder in Philadelphia until he was released in December of last year. He was just 17 at the time of the 2011 shooting that injured 4 people, including a child. But last week, the district attorney's office in Philadelphia officially cleared him of all charges, finding that Rice was mistakenly identified by a witness and also received inadequate legal representation. At the time of the shooting, Rice's pediatrician, Dr. Ted Tapper, testified that Rice wasn't even physically capable of committing the shooting because of another injury he was recovering from. C.J. Rice and Dr. Ted Tapper join us now. Welcome to both of you.
Good morning.
It's amazing to see your bond over the years and to see you two sitting here. In particular, you, C.J., because not only are you a free man this morning, you're cleared of all the charges that were against you. How does that feel?
It'll leave you speechless, right? Because for so many years, I was kicking and screaming and scratching and clawing and nobody heard me. Now everybody heard me, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that can't be nothing but the grace, right? That's grace.
Where does that come from? Because you say you're not vindictive, you're not angry. When did you find sort of that moment of peace so that you could be here today as we were speaking in the green room and smile and talk about pictures that I've seen the video where you're like, I'm just grateful to be outside.
Right.
The sun hits differently now.
Right. So when you allow like bitterness and like acrimony, like some kind of acrimonious feeling to set in, that's a debilitating feeling, right? And you can't get much done when you in that mind state or in those feelings within yourself. You gotta let that stuff go. Because for one, me personally, it wasn't my fault. That's their problem. So I gotta work on me and do what I gotta do to make sure that I'm in the best position to try to get out of this situation. So I think I realized that around like 2016. So once I stopped fighting myself, then it allowed me to fight harder, I guess.
CJ, take us back to when you're 17 years old. You're arrested for the shooting. You mentioned at the time you believed that everything would unfold favorably for you because you know that you didn't do it, and you thought your name would be clear. But when that judge handed down your sentence, what went through your head?
I gotta come back. I'm coming back. I'll see you in a minute.
That's how you felt at that moment?
Automatically. Be right back. It stung for a split second, but then you gotta have that resolve, right? So like I read a lot when I was younger, and I listened to like, motivational speech a lot when I was younger, and you gotta find it inside yourself not to let nothing break you down, right? So if I'm getting sentenced for a crime I didn't commit, then he tell me, good luck, Mr. Rice. Looked him square in his eyes and was like, all right.
Yeah.
That's what the judge said to him.
That's the last thing he said. Good luck, Mr. Rice.
And in your head, you're like, I'm coming back.
I'll see you in a minute.
Dr. Tapper, what's it been like for you after all these years, and you never believed that he was guilty of this crime?
Of course.
Because of the injuries he had sustained, he could not have been running from the scene as described.
I saw him in my office 5 days before whatever happened, the event, and he was walking like, I hate to say this, a little old man. He was all bent over, he was taking shuffling steps. He had trouble getting from a sitting position to the exam table, off the exam table, back into a sitting position. As he walked out of the office, that's how he was walking. There are 2 steps from the office to the sidewalk. He had trouble navigating those steps. There's no way 5 days later he was running anywhere, let alone even walking fast. And when we got the medical records, which CJ wrote to me, but I tracked down the medical records from when he was hospitalized earlier that month, September of 2011. I got the records, and then I noticed that he had a bullet that went through his pelvis. He had pneumonia. The nurses were saying on a daily basis in their nursing notes, generalized muscle weakness, generalized muscle weakness. That just confirmed what I had seen in the office when he was in the office for a post-hospital visit, because he'd been shot on September 3rd, and he was in the hospital for the better part of 2 weeks. and then he got out.
Why don't you think prosecutors or the defense asked for your medical records?
Which is astounding that you're saying that CJ asked you for the medical records, the prosecution and his attorneys didn't ask you for those records.
That's correct. And there was a press conference a week ago yesterday, and D.A. Krasner of Philadelphia, who's a good guy, I asked him that question. Why did neither his defense lawyer nor the prosecution ask for the medical records? And I didn't get an answer to that question. So why didn't they ask for the medical records? Either his official defense lawyer or the prosecution, I have no idea.
CJ, what is your message to other people who are locked up right now? And we've seen numerous people over the years through the Innocence Project, which worked on your case, that have been exonerated.
The message to the people that's out or the message to the people that's in?
To both.
So the message to the people that's out, y'all know we gotta take it a day at a time. It could get overwhelming at times, right? Even something as simple as walking down the street. So like walking in Times Square last night, it was like, whoa, it's like 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Even at nighttime. And that caused a little bit of anxiety, right? But taking it a day at a time out here, when you come from in there, from the other side of the wall, that's mandatory. You gotta give yourself grace, right? And that was told to me from a wise counsel of mine. He said, you gotta give yourself grace. Because when I first came home, I would just like set times on things, and if I don't get it done at this time, then I feel like, oh no.
Right.
So to everybody that's on this side of the wall, give yourself grace. Now to the guys that's still in there, don't stop fighting. Just don't stop fighting.
Well,
Just don't stop fighting.
luckily you had good counsel, and I heard that you have plans to pursue becoming an attorney. So we look forward to following up with you on that.
You never gave up, and you never gave up on your patient, and it's wonderful to see you both here.
It is.
It really is.
Thank you all for your time.
There was
Thank
no
y'all.
giving up.
No giving up.
Can't give
He
up.
wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give up.
Can't.
Nope.
CJ Rice and Dr. Ted Tapper, we thank you again.